What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a great day. Today we're going to be installing the RPG PERCH collars on my 2021 Ford Bronco with the Sasquatch package. Now obviously there's some videos out there that show you guys how to install a lift on your Bronco, but I don't think I've seen a great video that doesn't waste your time and shows you guys all the steps, and hopefully we can accomplish that today in today's video. So right now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the products and what we're going to be installing today. Alright, so here are the RPG collars and what we're going to be installing today. These are obviously the front, these are 2 1/4, and these are the rear. These are going to be 1 1/4 lift for the back. You get a couple stickers, some Allen keys, and that is basically it. No instructions, nothing else. That's all you get. So today, hopefully I'm going to show you guys how to install this. But obviously, if you've never installed or decompressed struts before, this is actually a pretty dangerous job, but I'm going to try to hopefully show you guys how to do this yourself. Obviously, you're going to need some special tools, and this is the only thing you'll need. These are strut compressor tools. You can pick these up on Amazon. I'll link these out down below. I've used these before in the past, and they actually work pretty good. One more thing I do recommend is a cordless impact. That's going to save you a lot of time and headaches in today's video. If you're using manual tools, this job may take a little bit longer. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started and start working on the front. First thing I'm going to do is disconnect our outer tie rod end. This is a 13/16 bolt. Sometimes when this doesn't come loose, you can actually get a hammer and hit it here, and it'll pop up the tie rod loose. Luckily we're here. We want to go ahead and disconnect our 8mm wheel speed sensor while we're here. So I put the screw back in so we don't lose it. The 10mm that holds the brake lines and the ABS onto the knuckle. Put that screw back in for later. I'm going to go ahead and remove both 18mm caliper bracket bolts. There's one. There's two. And then we grab our little caliper. You don't have to use one of these, but these are become really handy. You can also use like a coat hanger. You want to hang the caliper securely so it's not straining our brake lines. Now we can go ahead and pull our rotor off. Now we can go ahead and remove our sway bar end links. Remove our axle nut that uses a 36mm. We are going to leave the nut on for now because we need to hit the CV axle loose, so I'll leave that on there for now. We need to remove our 18mm bolt from the upper control arm. Go ahead and put the nut back on a couple threads. Hit the knuckle with the hammer right here. We'll leave that on there for now. We'll need to break the CV axle loose. From what I've seen in videos online, it looks like the CV axle is in there really tight. So we'll go ahead and get the nut right to the edge of the CV axle. Get our dead blow hammer and start hitting it so we can see the axle start moving back. Alright, I think we're starting to move it. We can go ahead and release our upper control arm. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that was on there really tight. Wow. Whew. All right, now we got it loose. Okay. Now we can go ahead and remove our lower shock bolts. These are 18mm. we got left is 3 15mm bolts on top of the strut. Now we can go ahead, we got the bolt off the bottom, bolt on the top, go ahead and get our pry bar, pry on the bottom. Slide our out, take it over to the bench. We got our strut. We're gonna go ahead and get a marker or a pin, and we're gonna mark our strut. So this is the center. We're gonna mark our strut here and on top in the center. So when we go back together, this line, and this line all line up together. So I'm gonna mark that first before we go ahead and install the spring compressor tools. What we're gonna simply do is just basically attach it to the coils here, one on each side, preferably on opposite sides, so it'll compress evenly. So we're just gonna loosen this one up. So tighten it down. Like that. So we got one here on this side. And add the other to the opposite side. And we'll start tightening it down evenly. Alright, so as you can tell, I can move the spring freely in the shock or in the strut. That means the tension is off of the top nut. We're going to be removing this top nut. So if this is just spinning and the nut's not coming off, we're just going to stick an 18mm wrench in here, grab a 8mm socket clockwise, so our nut is free. Now we can pull our top strut mount off, pull this little collar off. Now we can go ahead and pull the whole spring assembly off of the strut. Set that off to the side carefully. There's a lot of tension on that spring. Go ahead and pull off our dust boot and our bump stop. Now we'll go ahead and pull off their lower spring cover. So this is our lower perch. We need to knock that dust cover off. So we can go ahead and get our dead blow hammer and knock this old perch off really quick. Go ahead and turn the spring over. Alright, it's going to bottom out right here on this lower dust cover. So we need to go ahead and continue hitting the perch so we can knock that dust boot off. Like so. Pull this off. And now we can go get our new perch collar and slide it onto the strut. Alright, grab our 2 1/4 perch. We'll slide that on here. We'll slide the old perch back on here. That will allow the old perch to sit that much higher. So instead of it's resting here, now it's resting up here. And then you go ahead and attach our dust boot, and we need to hammer that back on. Just how we took it apart. And you don't have to worry about aligning anything right now. We're just reassembling everything back together. Grab our strap, grab our coil, carefully Slide that back on. Like so. Grab our little collar. Our top strut mount. Put that back on. Nut back on. Once we put our nut on top, that's when we go ahead and line up our marks. Once everything's lined up, you can go ahead and tighten up the top nut. Alright. Everything's good. Go ahead and back these off and reassemble like in the car. Alright, so I just got done doing the front, and I don't know if you can tell in the camera, but wow, the front looks way taller than the back. It looks like a pre-runner style, so the back is a lot lower now. So now we go ahead and do the back, and we should be done. Go drive it and let it settle and see how much of an improvement it gave us. Alright, to do the back, it's actually a lot easier than the front. We got to remove these 3 7mm screws. Once we're going to remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these little clips. The Ford decided to put these clips in here, and man, these are, see when the whole thing spins, you kind of want to hold the outer ring with your finger as you lightly apply little to no pressure when you remove these, and you should be able to get these out of there. These things are terrible design. I don't know why Ford put these here. These suck. Alright, like I said, I'm not going to remove all of them. I'm just going to remove about half of them this way forward. I'm going to leave the rest of them on, just enough to where I can pull this fender liner down and just behind the caliper here. Alright, now we got access to the top of our strut mount bolts, and these are going to be 15mm, just like the front ones. Now, it's going to save you a lot of time if you have a 15mm gear wrench, so we can reach the ones in the very, very far back. It's way back there. If you have to do this manually, it's going to take you a long time. Alright, once we get our last 15mm nut off the top, we can go ahead and move on to the bottom. Alright, now this is where the fun begins. We have to remove this lower bolt from the lower strut. This actually is a 27mm bolt head, but I don't have my socket. I forgot it at work, but luckily I was able to find this 1 1/16 wrench that actually fits on the stud head. The bad thing is that this thing is on there really, really tight. I think this thing is recommended to be tight that's like 200 or 300 foot-pounds, so it's going to be on there really, really tight. So I'm going to use another wrench here to kind of help me put some leverage and try to break this loose. Oh my gosh, that's tight. Wow. Oh, almost. Oh. Oh my gosh. Oh, yes. Finally. like the front, we want to go ahead and mark our strut all the way down. Alright. 18mm. Take the nut off, take the top hat off, take our spacer off, remove our coil assembly, remove this boot. Grab a new perch collar, slide that on, slide that back on, slide our dust boot back on. Slide our dust boot off. Okay. Grab our collar, down on top. Grab our strap. Alright, line up our marks. Put our nut back on. Reverse our steps, put it back in the truck. Alright guys, I'm out driving the Bronco and wow, this thing rides really good for being lifted. I was really worried about the suspension being too stiff, but actually it rides really nice. Obviously it sits a lot higher, but now I actually have to use the side splits to get in. Before it wasn't a big deal, I could just slide in, but now I kind of have to use the side splits. And my wife before would complain that the Bronco was too high, but now she's really can complain. But either way, it's not a big deal because now I get to drive it even more. I'm gonna drive it around, let the suspension settle a little bit, and then we'll go back home, retest it, and remeasure. I did take some before measurements, and now we'll take some after measurements, and I'll show you guys the suspension and what it looks like, and see what you guys think. All right, there it is. It's been a couple of days now of driving around to get the suspension to settle, and wow, it looks really good. It's definitely leveled front and rear now. But man, the stance it has is really nice. Definitely has a really aggressive stance. I'm gonna show you guys what we have as far as measurements. So before on the front we had 5 3/8, and now we're looking at right at almost 8 inches. And then on the rear we originally had 6.5 from the tire to the bottom of the wheel well there. Now we're around almost around 8 inches as well. So basically a level finished look. We're like 7 7/8 front and rear, but yeah, it looks good. And like I said, it handles really nice as well, so you don't have to worry about the suspension being really stiff. I know some people complain that once they lift their Broncos with lifting blocks, it really makes the suspension really stiff. But honestly guys, it's a little stiffer, but it's not crazy where you're gonna notice a big difference. But anyways, yeah, it looks good, stance is nice, and like I said, it looks even better going down the road. So I'm gonna show you guys all the way around, and haven't had any issues at all with the lift. So now it's time to take it off road. All right, that's a wrap for today's video. I'm going to be listing out all the products that you saw in today's video down below, including all the tools that helped me do this job today. If you have any questions about today's video, or if you found this video helpful, please like, please subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next one.